Alright, so this is Atiy's recording. We'll go through this and have a look at some of the hands. It's good old Pokerstars Zoom. What's it? 10 NL. Yeah. Alright, so on the left, you've got top pair, next two pair on the river. And then takes it down. Yeah, so playing the right was fine. Check back the flop and then fold the turn. On that particular turn card, you got a lot of flush draws and pairs that you can continue with, as well as some straight draws that you want to float. Generally, players that are in position will float with more drawy type hands, and players that are out of position need to float with some more showdown value type hands. You need more showdown value to float out of position than you do in position.
Yeah, I noticed that like in the new sims, like you call a lot more hands like in position, which feels like a race sometimes.
In terms of preflop.
No, like post flop, like small blind versus big blind, for example, like when you're defending in position.
Yeah, I mean, when defending in position, you can you should be floating, and then hope that they give up. Hope that they have a bluff and give up by checking to you. Of course, a lot of players will not realise that they should be bluffing enough. A lot of players don't bluff enough when they're out of position, and so then floating becomes really bad.
Can probably bet the river maybe on the right there, but
Yeah, I mean that call's pretty bad. Yeah, you should just fold that.
Yeah.
I mean, here you should call, but you should have folded pre.
yeah,
You can probably even raise the flop. You definitely want to be either raising or folding this turn if he does bet on the turn. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I mean, turn check is good. The flop bet seems alright as well, because when you've made it such a large size, you're repping a very polar range. I don't really like the river sizing, but it seems fine, I think.
What would you prefer?
Oh, just something like half pot. or even checking going for a check jam. Both are fine, I think.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I guess I just want to get called by queen, right? So, or that he wants to bet the queen, and I can shove.
And it's really interesting bet size from him. It's a very big bet size.
Yeah, I agree.
For this kind of board, usually on monotone boards, you want to bet fairly small, because you end up running into a flush a bit too often. So you don't get as much value from your own flushes, because the hands which will continue are either flushes or usually flush draws, or like pair with flush or tight combinations which continue at a high frequency. So if you've got a flush, you end up blocking a lot of the hands that he's going to want to continue with. So you need to bet a bit smaller in order to get that value. Yeah, I mean, because you've got flush blockers that you can use as bluffs, that does somewhat block your continuing range and force you to call a bit wider. But the effect is not quite. The effect is twice as strong when you've got the actual flush. So you can't bet too big, otherwise you just run into a flush, which you end up blocking. So they basically will fold at a very high frequency. So you need to end up betting a bit smaller to get them to continue with more than just flushes and flush blocker combinations. Does that kind of make sense? That's why you want to bet a bit small.
Yeah.
I found mines here. Should he fold nines, pocket nines on that board?
I guess a pot size bet on the turn. You can definitely argue
on the
towards
flop.
that. On the flop,
On the flop.
probably not. What was the bet size? Was it like 2/3 or something?
Half pot or 70%? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you can fold it sometimes.
I fold too much on the flop, I guess. I only call with top pair or good draws.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
after
it's difficult to do when the board is kind of dry like that. Yeah, I mean you can see how often they're calling these very big 3-bets even at the micros like this. It's like the micros are just calling it like a lot.
I don't like the small bet on the flop with ace queen. Do you agree or?
Yeah, I mean I probably wouldn't bet that too often.
I think I prefer check call.
Yeah, I mean there's some hands that want to bet, like definitely pocket queens and pocket kings usually want to bet this flop very often.
Pot size bet?
Well, not necessarily. I mean I don't understand how you won that hand. But you did. So what did he have? I didn't catch that.
Yeah, I'll probably show it again, I think.
A7.
A7.
He floats a lot with A7, okay. Yeah, I mean, you should be folding that pre-flop and then folding to the flop bet. So, like, you can see that in the micros, these enormous 3-bet sizes out of position just print. And even in position, they do pretty well too. They're going in the 20 big blinds, 15 big blinds, because they call the crap. Yeah, 19 isn't too bad there. Probably get a touch bigger. You can go up to about 25. Then again, he's a bit shorter, so I don't. When he's like short, he's only got 97 big blinds. So yeah, it's fine. This is one of those spots in a 4-bet pot. Fairly good board for you. You got a lot of ace X, which improved from pre-flop. So making a small bet there is the play. Difficult for you to have bluffs, but you don't really want your opponent to see a turn card because their pocket pairs or whatever are going to catch up. So you really want to deny a bit of equity if you can. Not necessarily get them to fold out hands, just force them to pay a set a turn kind of thing. So going for a really small bet, something like 20% of the pot, does pretty well. Having them pay to see the turn is ends up reducing their EV substantially with a lot of hands. Right? If your hand goes from having plus EV, if you check and the opponent checks back, to 0 EV, indifferent between calling and folding a bet. If you're indifferent between calling and folding a bet, by definition, your expectation is 0. So, betting even a small size, getting your opponent to have 0 EV or very close to 0 EV, means that you will win the pot against those hands. Yeah, I mean when players are only playing, it's probably because you're playing against the fish, but when players are shorter, it usually favours them if they're out of position. So you want to be tighter on opening the button. So 10-2 is a little bit wide.
Yeah.
I mean, floating the flop donk is okay, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I'm opening because I feel that they won't free bet enough, so I feel like it's still plus EV to open, but I guess that's not. I mean, I can't really prove that, so.
Yeah, I mean, you could probably call or raise that gut shot there.
Yeah, that's probably a bit too
I, I make the same. I take the same line there. I fold too much. I don't fold. Maybe I fold too much on that three bet pots, three way pots.
Yeah, I mean, it's a limited pot, so you can't really be folding too much. Like, too much, like, straight draw type hands. You can fold just random pair, which you've got.
Yeah, I think what pops
But
into my mind is
uh,
the paired board. So
yeah,
I feel like I don't
but
have all that. Maybe.
he don't close the action, or I misunderstand your videos. So in that spot, he can't call now. He only have a raise range or fold.
If you've seen my most recent tutorial on
Yes, I see it.
what's away pots,
Now I don't know what
it's a
to
bit
think.
different. Right? I mean,
Yeah,
you can go both. You can either way. You can call or fold. Just remember that if you have a calling range, instead of just playing raise or fold, if you have a calling range, then you need to have that to be protected with more stronger hands than you would think.
okay.
And then you kind of donk them on the turn.
Can I ask what the color codes are? I think the orange is reg, right?
Are you orange?
Well,
Yeah,
it looks.
the orange is kind of reddish, and the red is more of a knit, I'd say.
And you don't use a HUD?
No, not for this. Not for this.
And green is weaker?
So
Yeah, green is.
So what happened on the turn? So you bet small on the flop, did you? You're out of position. I mean, yeah, let's look at that again.
Yeah, replay. I didn't.
I have problems in this spot when I open and button call me. I only see bet small on king high or ace high boards, and the rest of them I check call or check raise.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it depends on the board. I mean, ace high and king high is almost half of all boards, something like 35% of all boards. Yeah, I mean, checking the flop, trying to look to raise is okay as well, but I don't mind just having a small bet range, which has some really stronger hands in it.
And here, if you check the flop, you need to have an overbet range.
Yeah, I mean, I don't
I see a
I don't like this half pot bet on the turn. Like, I would much prefer making it kind of hefty, because the 3 doesn't really do anything for other players. If you had a strong hand looking to check raise the flop, you're going to want to get value. So, and like if he's got a set or something, he's going to bet the flop. So it just makes sense to me if you just like go 2 or 3 times a pot on the turn there.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I wait sims with this spot. I don't study enough. I know we need to play like small blind versus big blind, but the range are not the same. The ranges. And depends how wide the button call, no? Versus a recreational.
Yeah, I mean, just learning how to play out of position in general is going to help you. Because a good chunk of the time you're going to be playing out of position, defending the big blind. You're going to be defending, playing small versus big blind. You're going to be out of position. three betting from the blind is going to be out of position. So just knowing how to play out of position is very important. And the kind of bet size the out of position players use is generally smaller than in position. In the sense that if there are big bet sizes, they'll be taken less often in favour of having a well-protected checking range and check raising, versus when you're in position, you're going to use slightly bigger sizes, and if you have a really big size, you're going to use that more often because checking back, you end up getting the deck help your range improve. So if you constructed your check back range well enough, the deck will help you out a lot of the time. Versus if you're out of position, if you check, they have the option on the street to bet. So you have to have your range protected with some strong hands. Yeah, man, I'm not a huge fan of this raise. Like with the two overs and the backdoor flush draw and backdoor straight draw, you can just call and see a turn card. Like you call, that turn card's really good for you. You can call second bet. If he checks, then you can bluff, rather than raising the flop, and then having him reopen the action by going for a three bet.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think I played that spot like I'm out of position. I think.
Yeah, I mean, so that's probably definitely a three bet. I could be wrong. Was it cutoff versus small blind? It's probably three bet.
Yeah.
Size bet.
King Jack suited, you should.
Alright, so right, phone call.
I will record the few session and I will give you the one with the most action.
You can if you want. It doesn't really faze me.
Yeah, I'm not really sure about the turn.
So here, so like with these limp pots, betting small is fine. Getting to the turn, even though it pairs a king, pairing the king is not great for your range. If you want to bet, you can just pot it. I think it's fine. Because then you're kind of representing a strong king or a bluff. I mean, betting twice the pot, that's not too bad either with this particular hand.
Because you don't block the flush draws and straight draws and no.
Oh, well, that's mainly because you don't block your opponent's king.
Yeah. And with ace king in the left.
Yeah, there was two hands going on at the same time, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Is that sizing good? The 3-bet size?
Yeah, so if you look at the how to crush the micros video that I made, that's the 3-bet size that I'd recommend. Yeah, bet the flop. You can continue on the turn. You can also check back, because this turn isn't great for your range. If you do decide to bet, you're going to want to bet fairly big, close to pot, probably 75%, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure in this spot.
He should bluff the river or not
I mean,
with this
the
hand.
fact that he floated with 10-9 out of position in the 3-bet pot, it just tells you well, it's just another reason why making it huge with these big 3-bets is going to be profitable, right? Like they shouldn't have 10-9 suited their pre-flop against your 3-bet size to start off with, and they definitely shouldn't be floating the flop with it, because like 10-9, it literally loses to all your bluffs. So if they do want to be floating with it, they do want to continue with it, they should continue as a check raise or some sort, but it's not super necessary.
I think I just wanna bet big here. But...
Yeah, doesn't make sense to bet that. Yeah. Equal the flop. This is one of those balls where you should just raise like enormous, or you could just bet like enormous into them. Like the call on the flop is just not good. You should just raise huge.
Alright.
So if he bets small. We don't let the action until the river, no? Like you told us to let him to bluff 3 street and raise him on the river, not on the flop.
That would apply to players that you think are just going to continuation bet a lot.
Okay. So they donk 1 BB on majority of the flop, the recreational player, and I think we need to raise them now on the flop because they have still equity in the range. So we need to deny their equity. Make
Yeah, I
them
mean,
to pay.
if you look at the sims against a very small donk, you get a fairly substantial raising range. Depends on the size of the donk. Against very small donks, you can just flat a lot. The donk does say something about the strength of the hand. Generally, the donk's going to be a bit more polar than the checking ranges. So you're not going to be able to raise them a huge amount. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a fold. Low jack versus. I mean, against the low jack, you're folding it. So when the button calls, you should still be folding it. In the small blind there, I mean, it's a small inaccuracy, but I guess it's just something that you learn when you look at the sims a lot. Like a lot of the micros, and even I don't know, even going up to like 100 an hour and stuff like that. There's enormous pre-flop mistakes that people are making, and so if you play pre-flop pretty well, you end up doing a lot better than the majority of your opponents. Yeah, so I mean, I think the hand is played all the queen nine there. You've got just a flop in the turn, just played pretty well. I mean, the other bets are very small, like just same as a pot size bet, so you can't really be folding there on the turn, and definitely the river, you can't be folding. I mean, you can even consider jamming the river, to be honest.
Yeah, that was my concern as well.
just because like if he's got a set, he should probably rip the river himself. So when he's betting only a pot size bet, he's saying he's got like a strong queen, kind of thing. So you should probably be considering jamming your top two. I mean, what else was there on the board? I think that was it. Was it 10-8?
Hopefully we see it
No,
again.
there wasn't. It was queen. Yeah, queen 8. Queen 8-6. Got queen 9-7. Yeah, maybe it was 10-8. No, 10-8 isn't a thing. Yeah, so there's no straights on that board. So you're only worry about sets, and same for him. So like if he's got a set, like a set of 7, set of 3, set of 2, set of 2s or something, he should probably be jamming the river himself, because like you have nothing better. So when he makes a pot size bet, he's saying he's got like a good queen, right? And you beat all of them. So it makes a lot of sense to just shove yourself.
You could also have overpairs, right?
Yeah, I mean you got an pair or whatever.
At this at this stake, the rake is 4.5 with a 15 big blind cap. So relative to the Monker pre-solves, should we be reducing the calling frequency and increasing the 3-bet frequency? Should we be making any substantial changes as far as
I mean, the expectation of calling will be lower because of the rake. And so the expectation of raising it won't fall as much. So your calling range will definitely shrink from everywhere. And as a result of your calling range shrinking, your 3-bet range will go up.
When you say it goes up, it just you're talking about the frequencies, the same hands, but
yeah,
just
it would be the frequencies of the same hand. Yeah.
Right.
So like here, if you got the button versus hijack or whatever, like these indifferent calls will go close to 0. Some of these hands which call all the time will be 3-betting at a higher frequency. Some of these indifferent calls, some of these low EV calls might suddenly be indifferent between calling and 3-betting. Sorry, they're already indifferent between calling and folding, and so might call less and as a result 3-bet more. So like all these hands will have a higher 3-bet frequency than they do right now. It's kind of like you look at the difference between button and cutoff. How buttons calling range is wider than the cutoffs, because cutoff can't really call because of the chance that button overcalls, right? So that's why the cutoffs 3-bet percentage, while it's actually slightly higher here than the buttons. You can look at it here, 8.3 plus 1.1. So a little over 9, here's just about 9. So like roughly the same 3-bet frequency, but here's the cutoff 3-bet size is smaller. So make of that what you will. When against different sizes, you got different things going on. Once again, you can see here because the rake is smaller. If your opponent makes a bigger open size, even though it does decrease the calling EV, all these weaker hands, the stronger hands still have pretty good calling EV in terms of being able to bluff catch.
This will apply versus GTO players, but if the blinds don't squeeze enough,
yeah, I mean, if the blind don't squeeze enough, you can call more, especially in terms of like set mining. Like calling ranges are pretty set heavy, pretty pocket heavy to try and make sets. Yeah. Which spot were you referring about? I'm not sure which one I was talking about. I've forgotten now. So if you wanted me to elaborate more, you can be more specific about what I was talking about previously. Yeah, I'm not really sure what was going on there with the 5-4 suited. You should probably open that in the cutoff, I think. Is that
Yeah, I think that's done now. But I felt like I'm gonna get called by the button a bit more. So that's why I folded, I think.
I mean, if you get called by the button, you should see that a lot. Because their range is quite weak. So that kind of hammers and small bluffing opportunities post flop.
Yeah, it's true, yeah.
Of course, bluffing isn't really where it really comes from. It comes from making strong hands, but 5-4 suited, it does make strong hands often enough.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, for now, when I get called, like, when I get called in position, when I open early right, I pretty much just check range most of the time. To
Yeah,
kind of
so like
simplify
it depends who you're playing against. So if you think you're playing against someone that's called very wide, then you should be c-betting quite a lot. The same kind of c-bet frequencies that you use in sort of the small blind versus big blind kind of spot, right? So in the small blind versus big blind situation in a single raise pot, small blind's range is higher than the big blinds.
Yep.
For like the regular pot size open. So because that's the case, the small blind on a lot of boards is going to have a c-betting range. It's going to have a c-betting range on almost every board. Because of that difference in sort of relative range strength, it's going to be a c-bet, and that's going to fold out some hands, and then on the turn you're going to be polarizing.
Alright, so you're saying that I should play closer to that?
Yeah, I mean, if you know against you're up against an opponent that will call you with a range that's far too wide, then you're going to be c-betting more often.
Yeah, I would assume that most people do call wider, so.
That looks like what you're doing here with the king queen, right? You're assuming that he's calling far too wide against your, what was it, 20x or something, 15x, 3-bet preflop. So 15 big blind 3-bet preflop.
Yeah, I'm not really
I
sure.
don't
Yeah.
like that.
Don't know what the king queen.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe we could consider betting the river, but like if
yeah,
just giving up is fine as well. Like I don't really see anything wrong with just checking the flop. Sorry, I'm betting the flop and then checking down, giving up. Because they got the nut no pair, so you'd have some showdown value. And if your opponent's got king queen, or you might be able to chop with that, or king 10 somehow.
Yeah, I bet the turn though for half pot.
Oh, did you? Yeah, that's not so good. If you bet the turn for half pot, then you probably want to continue when
Yeah.
river brings a flush and you got the flush
Yeah.
blocker.
yeah. That's why I say it's not good, because he bet a turn, and when the flush came,
Yeah,
to
I mean,
block
if you just
with the queen, he needs to bet.
if you just bet the flop and then check the turn, then giving off the river is okay. But after betting the flop and the turn, because you got a very strong flush blocker, you should probably use that.
Yeah. Even the opponent range are ace heavy, but maybe he will fold ace queen there versus a pot bet on the river.
Yeah, I mean, he's probably going to be indifferent, so. One of the things, especially with the big open sizes, the fact that you block with ace king, even though you would expect ace king to just get it in pre-flop, some players will decide to call that pre-flop. So against a very big open size, a very 3-bet size, they were using here, was it 15, slightly bigger than normal, and often, and it is much bigger than a lot of people are used to. Even though like the new ranges that I have, I advocate for something like 12, 13 from the big blind against most open sizes. Because it's bigger than people are used to, they might not be able to react to that properly, knowing that they should be forwarding ace king, and so they end up doing weird shit like trapping ace king.
Thomas, do you drink coffee?
Yep.
Okay.
Why?
I ask. I was just curious about your lifestyle. What you eat, what you drink, what if you make sports, or how you
Yeah,
spend
no,
your.
I don't play a lot of sport. Like when I was a kid, I played a lot of chess, playing chess tournaments, that kind of stuff.
And how many hours should we play per week, and how much should we study?
Like it depends on whether you're going to be playing poker full time. Like when I'm coaching,
Yes.
when I'm coaching people playing poker full time, I recommend capping the number of hours that you play at 40. And if there's any less than 40 hours, like you make up that difference by studying. Because when you're playing full time, you're playing for a living. You've got to play in order to make money, right? I mean, fours could probably be open there. You've got to play in order to make money, so you want to play quite a few hours, right? But you don't want to play too much that you end up stretching your mind too thin. I find a lot of players, both live and online, after a session that goes for more than 8 hours, will just tilt the last. We'll basically tilt anymore. I mean, you should probably continue against that on that flop there with the backdoor straight and flush draw with the 5. Anyway, yeah. So like, if you're doing it full time, get up to 40 hours, but don't do too much more than 40 hours, because if you do too much more than 40 hours, you end up playing sessions that are too long.
And the break, and how long should be a session? And the breaks?
I mean, most people work in 8-hour blocks, and they have plenty of breaks during those 8-hour blocks. So just do the same. Right. I mean, if you're doing it professionally, treat it like a job. And so do it the same kind of way that you would if you were at a job. Yeah, I mean, 5x. I mean, it seems okay to fold that. It probably should just be a call, because you're your last player. But folding doesn't seem too bad either, especially if you have a read on the guy that he's too tight.
Yeah, so there I will probably just continue with the call versus a normal size, I think.
Show back here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, against a pot size bet, you can fold quite a lot. Yeah, you can fold something like, you fold around 50% of your range. Alpha's 50%, so you can fold around 50%. Yeah, I mean, I think it's been pretty standard so far.
Yeah, like from this session recording time until now, I'm been pretty much only focusing on preflop stuff.
Mm-hmm. Have you moved up yet? Have you moved up yet?
I mean, I'm not playing on Pokerstars usually. I just play on a non-international site, so.
All right, but you're playing high stakes on this, I imagine.
It's about like 40 to 50 NL.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Good work. So it's in the 2 months or whatever, you've gone from 10 NL to 50 NL. Yeah. Good work.
Yeah, I mean, since I think you did another session review. I think the first one or the second one, I can't remember. And you said that you should focus on preflop mostly. So that's what I was trying to do.
Yep.
And then it's not. I mean, trying to not do too much mistakes post flop mainly, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it's going to be pre-flop, and a lot of your variance comes from pre-flop as well. I mean, once those three cards come out on the flop, like there's not a huge number of turns in rivers that'll drastically change your EV. But pre-flop going from like queens when a king or ace comes, your EV suddenly drops. But if king or ace doesn't come, then your EV is like super high. So there is a fair amount of variance in terms of the hands pre-flop going to post-flop, and also being dealt the hands to start off with. So there's variance everywhere in this game, and so it's a very, very variance heavy game. So it's something that you need to be well rolled for when you're trying to move up.
Yep.
All right. Yeah, good work. If anyone have anything they want to recover? I mean, I think you played pretty well in this session. Definitely doing a lot better than the players that you were playing against. And like, if you're better than the players that you're playing against, and by a sufficient amount that you can beat the rate, you end up winning money. That's really the answer. I think also you were dealt some fairly nice hands as well. So there's a little bit of that.
Yeah, I think it was pretty good variance. But I think like the main thing I wrote down now is that I should probably take a look at like when I'm in position defending, probably take a look at the sims maybe, and then also
yeah, focusing on playing in position and out of position, like the differences between the two, and what you need to do in order to maximize your expectation. There is probably important, looking at a lot of different spots, comparing how the in position plays to how out of position plays. Out of position as the opener or the pre-flop aggressor is usually quite different as out of position as the pre-flop caller. But the only real difference is the pre-flop caller usually just checks the flop at a very high frequency. But there's even some spots where the pre-flop caller will donk, so knowing them is a little bit important as well. Just in general, knowing how to play out of position is the key there. All right, anyone else have any questions? No, great. All right, I've got to thank so I've got some Patreon subscribers to thank. I've got here Jordan Cruz. Thank you for subscribing. And the other Patreon subscribers I'll put in as a thank you in the description to this video. So yeah, thanks Jordan for being the first subscriber at that tier level. And thanks for all you guys for showing up to the tutorial. I'll post the video up shortly. See you.
Thank you. See you.
Bye.